They found DNA inside Nancy Guthrie's house. Unknown DNA. Someone who absolutely should not have been there. The FBI confirmed it, and then, inexplicably, the investigation just stopped. Now, 69 days later, a world-renowned DNA expert just issued a chilling directive to investigators. Go back. Because what they left behind inside those walls could finally end this nightmare. That expert is C.C. Moore. If you don't know that name, you need to. She is the pioneering genetic genealogist who helped catch the notorious Golden State Killer. She has solved more than 200 seemingly impossible cold cases using DNA technology that traditional labs didn't even believe would work. When law enforcement hits a brick wall, she is the one they call. And she just looked at the Nancy Guthrie case and said something that should make every single investigator in Tucson drop what they are doing. Go back to the house. The DNA you found isn't enough. But the DNA you didn't find might be absolutely everything. Today, we are going to break down exactly what the FBI actually found inside Nancy's house. Why the sample they collected currently can't identify a suspect. What groundbreaking new technology exists right now that could change that. And why private labs across the country are practically begging to help. But nobody is picking up the phone. It is day 69. No arrest, no suspect named. The FBI has officially confirmed that they located unknown DNA inside Nancy Guthrie's home. DNA that does not belong to her, and DNA that does not belong to any known visitor or family member. But there is a massive problem. The sample came back mixed. Multiple people's DNA blended together into one unusable, microscopic mess, causing the investigation to stall right in its tracks. Here is what mixed DNA actually means in a forensic setting. When a criminal breaks into a house, they leave invisible traces of themselves behind. Skin cells shed on a doorknob, sweat left on a countertop, microscopic droplets of saliva on a surface they breathe near. But in a home where an 84-year-old woman has lived for decades, those intruder traces mix with the DNA of every single person who has ever crossed that threshold. Family, friends, neighbors, maintenance workers. The result is a chaotic sample containing genetic material from multiple people, all layered on top of each other. Traditional crime labs simply cannot separate it. They can look through a microscope and see that someone unauthorized was there. They can definitively confirm the DNA is unknown, but they cannot isolate a clean, individual profile from the mixture. It is exactly like hearing 5 people shouting in a room at the same time and trying to identify just one specific voice. You know someone said something incredibly important, but you just can't tell who. So, the FBI has concrete proof that someone unauthorized was inside that house. Proof sitting in an evidence locker right now, but they can't read it without a clean profile. There is no match in CODIS. The national database. Without a match, there is no suspect. Without a suspect, there is no warrant. And without a warrant, there is no arrest. The entire chain of justice depends on one single thing, a clean DNA sample. And they don't have it. 69 days and counting. That is exactly where C.C. Moore steps in. She refuses to accept that answer. She looked at this case the exact same way she has looked at 200 others that everyone else had given up on. Her response was blunt and direct. Go back to the house. The person who took Nancy did not just touch one single surface and magically leave. He came through the back door. He walked through rooms. He touched walls. He touched furniture. He breathed heavily in enclosed spaces. Every single point of contact is a new chance for a clean sample. Not mixed, not layered, but pure. One isolated surface that only the intruder touched. One doorknob in the back of the house. One window frame. One piece of duct tape used to manipulate a lock. That is all it takes. And one clean sample changes everything. Because a clean sample doesn't just sit in a police database waiting for a convicted criminal to pop up as a match. With forensic genetic genealogy, the revolutionary technique that Moore herself pioneered, a clean DNA profile can be uploaded to public genealogy databases. From there, investigators do not need the suspect's DNA to already be on file. They build a family tree. They identify distant relatives. They narrow down the branches. Cross-reference geography, age, and criminal history. And they find the exact person. That is exactly how the Golden State Killer was caught. His DNA wasn't in any police database, but a distant relative had uploaded their DNA to a public genealogy site, and Moore's team meticulously followed the family tree all the way down to his front door. That exact same method is available right now, today, for this case. If someone goes back to that house and finds one clean sample. But here is where the Nancy Guthrie case could literally make scientific history. Moore revealed that a brand new DNA analysis machine is coming to the market. It is a machine that can do something no technology has ever been able to do before, successfully separate mixed DNA samples. This is the exact kind of sample the FBI has already collected from Nancy's house. The kind that traditional labs looked at and said, "We can't work with this. This new machine can take that exact same complicated mixture, pull it apart strand by genetic strand, and isolate individual profiles from within the blend." Think about what that actually means. The very sample that stalled this entire investigation might not be useless after all. The same evidence that the FBI already has in their physical possession could be reprocessed with this groundbreaking technology and finally produce a clean profile. Not a newly collected sample, but the same one, just read with better, more advanced tools. C.C. Moore said this case could be the first in the entire DNA world to be solved by this specific technology. The first, not one of the first, but the first. That is how unprecedented this machine is, and the evidence it desperately needs to work is already collected. It is already sitting in a lab, already waiting. Let that sink in for a moment. The FBI collected DNA from Nancy's house weeks ago and sent it to a lab. The lab said, "It's mixed, we can't use it." And the federal agents seemingly moved on. But nobody asked the next logical question. What if the problem isn't the evidence? What if the problem is simply the tool, because the tool just changed, and the evidence hasn't moved? It is still in that lab, perfectly preserved, still containing the genetic profile of the monster who walked into Nancy Guthrie's home and took her. The only thing standing between that microscopic sample and a name is a machine that now exists. If you have been following this case from the beginning, subscribe now, because this might be the exact moment everything shifts. And this is where the story gets incredibly hard to accept, because it's not just C.C. Moore offering her expertise. Private DNA labs across the entire country have actively reached out. They have watched the national coverage. They have seen Savannah and her family put up more than $1.2 million in reward money. They have watched the case stall out in real time, and they have explicitly contacted investigators, offering their state-of-the-art resources, their advanced equipment, and their unmatched expertise. Some of these world-class labs have even offered to work the case for completely free, and as of today, nobody has called them back. Not one single call. These are facilities with the equipment, the expertise, and the absolute willingness to work one of the most high-profile missing person cases in American history for free. And the phone hasn't rung once. Think about the tragedy of that. The family has done everything perfectly right. They raised an astronomical amount of money. They went public. They kept the pressure on. The media covered it relentlessly, and the FBI confirmed they have the DNA. A world-class expert publicly stated she knows how to solve it. Private labs said they are ready to help immediately. A new machine exists that could crack the exact type of sample they already collected. Every single piece of the puzzle is sitting right there on the table, and nobody in authority is picking them up. The technology exists, and the experts are available, the evidence is collected, the labs are ready and waiting. And yet, 69 agonizing days have passed with the investigation completely stalled on a DNA sample that might not even need to be recollected. It might just need to be reprocessed. And somewhere in Tucson, a desperate family is waiting for someone with a badge to make that call. There is a dark pattern in this case that I simply cannot ignore. Every single time a new lead emerges, it points right back to the exact same place. The ransom notes pointed to someone who had intimate knowledge of the inside of the house. The 3 reconnaissance visits pointed to someone who meticulously studied the house. The propped open back door pointed to someone who knew the specific layout of the house. And now, the DNA points to someone who left their undeniable genetic signature inside the house. Everything circles back to those walls. Absolutely everything. If C.C. Moore is right, and her phenomenal track record says she almost always is, the answer to this case isn't hidden out of reach. It's not buried in a desert landfill. It's not locked in someone's silent memory. And it's not sitting in an anonymous Bitcoin wallet. It is inside that house. It is on surfaces that nobody bothered to swab. It is on objects that nobody tested. It is in microscopic samples that nobody ran through the right machine. The evidence has been there since the very night Nancy was taken. 69 days, and it is still there, waiting in the silence. Moore helped catch the Golden State Killer when every other seasoned investigator in the country had given up. She has solved cases that were ice cold for decades, using techniques that didn't even exist when the brutal crimes were committed. And now she is looking at the specific house in Tucson and saying the exact same thing she has said 200 times before. The answer is in the DNA. You just haven't found the right sample yet. Or you have the right sample and you simply haven't used the right tool. The question isn't whether the technology works. It does. The question isn't whether the experts are willing. They are. The real question is whether the FBI will swallow their pride and go back to that house. Whether they will swab the surfaces nobody tested. Whether they will use the revolutionary machine nobody has tried yet. Whether they will pick up the phone and answer the calls from the private labs that desperately want to help. Because right now, the distance between this horrific unsolved case and a solved one might be as small as one single doorknob in the back of a house in Tucson that nobody thought to test. 69 days, 2 months, and 8 days. And the answer might be waiting on a surface that hasn't been touched since the night she disappeared, not in a massive database, not in a coerced confession, and not on a tip line. On a doorknob, on a window frame, on a piece of tape, inside the very house where it all began. What do you think? Should the FBI go back to the house? Tell me in the comments below. And if you missed yesterday's video about the Mexico detail hidden deep inside the ransom note, and the disturbing reasons why the FBI kept it quiet for 68 days, you need to watch it right now. That video is absolutely critical for understanding what is really happening behind closed doors in this investigation.